Link TV, connecting you to the world. Link TV is viewer supported. Watch more at linktv.org.
Link TV presents Mosaic World News from the Middle East. Here are today's top stories.
Pakistani Taliban, Pakistan.
Feds link failed Times Square bombing to Pakistani Taliban. Across Iraq, gunmen and bombers strike, killing 76 people. And Israelis and Palestinians re-enter peace negotiations. Mosaic World News from the Middle East begins now.
U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder said that the Pakistani Taliban is behind last week's attempted car bombing in New York. Holder indicated that the security authorities have what he said to be convincing evidence that confirms the link between the main individual accused in the attempt and the Pakistani Taliban.
The failed bombing attempt that New York's Times Square witnessed was the Taliban's first attempt on American soil. According to statements by U.S. officials, the security institutions have evidence to prove the Taliban's involvement in the incident.
Pakistani Taliban has directed this plot. We know that they helped facilitate it, and that they helped direct it. And I suspect that we're going to come up with evidence that shows they helped to finance this plot. They're intimately involved in this plot. I'm comfortable in saying that they were involved in what Shahzad tried to do. And I think that's an indication of a new threat that we face. These terrorist organizations, these affiliates of Al-Qaeda, or these organizations that are somehow connected to the kinds of things Al-Qaeda wants to do, indicates the worldwide concerns we have if we are going to be effective.
We're going to be effective.
وجاءت تصريحات هولدر رغم نفي طالبان باكستان تورطها بالحادث.
Holder made these statements even though the Pakistani Taliban denied involvement in the incident and denied that the suspect of the bombing attempt, Faisal Shahzad, has any connection to the organization and claimed that he acted on his own. If the Pakistani Taliban's involvement is proved, then the incident will represent a major development in the organization's strategy, which has never before carried out any attacks outside of South Asia. Pakistan received an official request from the U.S. to investigate Faisal Shahzad, who obtained U.S. citizenship 3 months ago. American investigators said that Shahzad informed them that he trained for 3 months in explosives in the tribal regions of Pakistan before returning to the U.S. in February, where he started preparing for the attack.
قبل عودته إلى الولايات المتحدة في فبراير الماضي حيث بدأ يحضر للهجوم.
It is worth mentioning that Times Square is located 4 miles north of the World Trade Center, where the September 11th attacks took place in 2001.
الذي فجر في هجمات 11 من سبتمبر في العام 2001.
The United States continues to try to locate a Yemeni-American religious man by the name of Anwar al-Awlaki, who is accused of inciting Malik Nidal Hassan and Omar Farouk Abdul Muttalib to attack the U.S. The manhunt for Anwar al-Awlaki started after his capability to recruit young American men through the internet to carry out attacks inside the U.S. gained a great deal of attention.
Nidal Hassan, أمريكي من أصل فلسطيني, major في الجيش.
Nidal Hassan, a Palestinian-American major in the U.S. Army, opened fire on dozens of people at the Fort Hood military base in the United States, killing 13 and wounding 30 others. Farouk Abdul Muttalib, 23 years old, was born in Nigeria to a wealthy family and was a student in the University College at London. He is accused of attempting to detonate explosives on a Delta Airlines Airbus A330. Faisal Shahzad, born in Pakistan and holds U.S. citizenship, is accused of attempting a car bombing in New York. Hassan, Abdul Muttalib, Shahzad, in one way or another, all three are linked to Anwar al-Awlaki. So who is he? Anwar al-Awlaki is 39 years old and was born in New Mexico to Yemeni parents. He was 30 years old when the September 11th incident took place, and he condemned the attack at the time.
كان في 30 من عمره عندما وقعت أحداث 11 من أيلول سبتمبر. حينها كان يدين هذه الهجمات.
We came here to build, not to destroy. We are the bridge between Americans and a billion Muslims around the world.
After he was imprisoned for 18 months by Yemeni authorities for intervening in a tribal dispute, Awlaki declared hostility and war on the U.S.
I have reached the conclusion that jihad against America is a full obligation for me and for every capable Muslim.
American officials consider Awlaki to be the most prominent person in motivating English-speaking Muslims to join al-Qaeda. On YouTube, when you search for Anwar al-Awlaki, you find a series of his lectures, such as The Book of Jihad, which has been viewed by 300 people. This may be the smallest number of views for one of his videos. The video titled Allah is Preparing Us for Victory, Imam Anwar al-Awlaki, has received more than 41,000 views.
تلقى هذه المقاطع المصورة على اليوتيوب.
These videos on YouTube are not the only ones that gain popularity. CDs of Anwar al-Awlaki speeches and lectures are also well received, and they appear to be of good quality.
أن إنتاجها من ناحية الجودة التقنية جيد.
When people come into it, they do not leave.
استخدامه وسائل الاتصال الحديثة كالمدونات.
His usage of modern media tools such as blogs and electronic sites, the free and easy access to uploading these video clips, and his ability to promote them on a large scale on the virtual network or through conventional means, all of these elements made him gain a massive number of Muslim followers around the world. Awlaki's personality is also a factor. A CIA officer frankly said that he has a magnetic personality and the charm of an English-speaking man who talks in a way that stimulates some Muslim youths who understand English and live in Western countries. Najla Abu Mareh, BBC.
دول غربية ويتحدث الإنجليزية. نجلة أبو مرعي BBC.
Nearly 75 people, including several military personnel, have been killed in a series of attacks and explosions. The targets included military checkpoints, police headquarters in Baghdad and Fallujah, a busy marketplace in the town of Suwaira, and a textile factory in the city of Hela, south of Baghdad, in addition to other targets north of the Iraqi capital.
Iraq was hit by a series of attacks executed by various methods, which include the use of booby-trapped cars, suicide bombers strapped with explosive belts, timed bombs, as well as weapons equipped with silencers.
Baghdad woke up to a series of bomb attacks, killing and injuring a large number of police and army officers. What is new about today's attacks was their method of execution. Weapons with silencers were used in simultaneous attacks on 6 security checkpoints. In addition, several other checkpoints were targeted in a series of car bomb attacks. Several army and police recruits met their fate in the city of Fallujah, west of Baghdad, after bombs planted near the entrances of their homes were detonated. In southern Iraq, death was imminent, as 2 suicide bombers blew themselves up in the middle of a busy market in the area of Suwaira, in the province of Wasit. On a smaller scale, several Iraqi areas witnessed sporadic attacks. A car bomb exploded in the area of Tarmiya, north of Baghdad, killing and wounding scores of Iraqis. In Mosul, 2 members of the Peshmerga armed Kurdish fighters were killed. In addition, a local official was killed in Diyala province. A dangerous security escalation has overshadowed the Iraqi scene. Meanwhile, the political front is witnessing an intense race for the position of prime minister, pending the outcome of the talks held between the ruling parties in Iraq and the region. The upcoming visit by U.S. Vice President Joe Biden, who is known by Iraqis as the man with the green foot, aims to help Iraq form its new government.
Joining us from Baghdad is Mohammed Al-Qasim, an Iraqi writer and journalist. Mr. Al-Qasim, how do you interpret the number of targets and the different methods of execution used in today's attacks?
Yes, the attacks and security breaches witnessed today in Iraq, especially in Baghdad, have sent a clear message which can be added to the list of messages that were sent by armed groups to Iraq, both the government and nation, and to the world. In today's message, the armed groups want to reiterate that they are present, saying that all the security tactics used by the Iraqi military leaders will be met with stronger strategic tactics in the long run. Today's attacks are exceptional in terms of their timing and location.
According to a report by the Journalistic Freedoms Observatory in Baghdad, 262 violations have been committed against Iraqi journalists in just 1 year. These violations include killings, kidnappings, beatings, detentions, and armed attacks. According to the report released on World Press Freedom Day, the incidents documented by the Journalistic Freedoms Observatory were violations against journalists and their institutions that show that journalists are subject to harassment and systematic violence. Not to mention the ongoing efforts by the government and the political parties which are aimed at controlling the freedom of the press in Iraq, including on the internet and in the print media. The report said that the Communications and Media Commission of Iraq forced media institutions to sign documents granting the commission unlimited authorities, including the authority to shut these institutions down, confiscate their equipment, withdraw their licenses, and impose large fines on them. The commission also forced media institutions to submit a list of all their employees and the types of equipment they have. Mr. Nidal Al-Lithi, editor-in-chief of Al-Zaman newspaper, joins us in our studio to talk about this topic. Mr. Nidal, is there freedom of press in the Arab world? Is the press controlled by influential political parties in Arab countries, or is it controlled by money?
الحقيقة لا هذا ولا ذاك. لا نمتلك
In reality, none of the above is entirely true. We don't have freedom of press in Arab countries because Arab governments have policies and hold positions against freedom of information. These governments continue to harass journalists. They place restrictions on the freedom of the press, and they justify these restrictions by giving the illusion that these measures are necessary for security reasons. These policies reflect the fact that Arab governments are afraid of free speech and do not wish the public to be informed. The independent media is trying to do just the opposite, which is to always try to provide people with information. Independent media provides credible information and has its own sources. Naturally, Arab governments do not like it, and they rely on their official media institutions and newspapers to sell their points of view, which serve them and their policies. Today, several reports were released on World Press Day, including that of Reporters Without Borders. This organization released a report titled Predators of Press Freedom. The list included leaders such as Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who led the list. It also included Libyan leader Muammar al-Qaddafi, Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh, and Mullah Omar.
بعد يومين واحد فقط من تتويج مساعيها السلمية في المنطقة.
One day after crowning its peace efforts in the region by announcing the launch of indirect peace talks, Washington got slapped once again. The office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a statement denying that its government pledged to Washington to stop the construction of settlements in occupied Jerusalem. The statement confirmed that Israel will continue the construction of settlements in Jerusalem. In a statement issued today to the media, Israeli media spokesman Yoli Agatstein confirmed that his country plans to continue the construction of settlements in East Jerusalem over the next 2 years, in reference to a new project which includes the construction of 1,600 housing units in the settlement of Ramat Shlomo.
في مستوطنة رامات شلومو يضم 1,600 وحدة سكنية.
This news came hours before U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East George Mitchell returned to the occupied Palestinian territories. This is Mitchell's 17th visit to the region aimed at launching indirect talks between Israelis and Palestinians, talks that Israel has already deemed a failure. Our correspondent, Mohammed Sayed, reports from Ramallah.
After 18 months of strain, indirect peace talks under U.S. mediation were launched today between the Palestinians and the Israelis. It seems that all issues related to the final solution will be discussed at the bargaining table.
The topics of discussion include all final issues, such as the border, Jerusalem, the refugees, the settlements, the water, as well as security.
The border issue plays a crucial role in the negotiations due to disagreements over the shape of the future Palestinian state, which Israel demands to have temporary borders. In addition, Israel wants to keep all major settlement outposts under its control, based on the principles of a land swap deal with the Palestinians.
If this Israeli position continues during the indirect peace negotiations, and if the negotiations fail to meet the minimum expectation of the Palestinians, then such talks will fail before the 4-month deadline.
Despite the launch of the negotiations, Israel continued to delay the process. On one side, it called for moving rapidly towards direct negotiations, and on the other, it called for unconditional negotiations, vowing to freeze its settlement campaign. However, the plan to construct 14 housing units in the Damascus Gate area is another obstacle to the indirect negotiations.
The settlement campaign, if it continues, will put us in an awkward position. We will be asked why we sat with Netanyahu to negotiate while the settlement campaign was in progress.
In the midst of this opposition, the U.S.-sponsored indirect talks were launched. The negotiations are expected to move to the next phase of indirect talks, if what is feared the most doesn't happen, and that is the suspension of talks. Israel continues to construct settlements in every corner of occupied Jerusalem. Israel aims to keep Jerusalem outside the perimeter of areas subject to the settlement freeze, a position that is not shared by both the U.S. and the Palestinians, making the negotiations subject to failure.
For our lead story, Israel has the technological capability to strike Iran. Israel's Vice Prime Minister Moshe Ya'alon made the remark while addressing a conference on air power. He said Tel Aviv's military capabilities can be used for war against the Palestinian city of Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, and Iran. Tel Aviv is believed to be the only nuclear-armed regime in the Middle East. Let's expand more on this. Nader Mokhtari, a columnist and commentator, joins us to shed more light on it. Nader Mokhtari, thanks for joining us. Why is it that Israel is talking of a war at this point in time?
I don't think this fact has been lost on the Obama administration, that whenever there's the slightest hint of the United States and Iran talking on any issue whatsoever, Israel tends to dive in at the deep end and try and muddy the water as much as it can, almost as if it wants to be behaving almost like it is a spoiled child that wants attention all the time from a parent, which in this case happens to be the U.S. The dinner Iran gave at its UN mission in the United States, in which there was a hint of talks of no matter how slight, has worried Israel. What we've seen is a strike on Gaza tunnels straight away, which was uncalled for, and then followed by these threats. But you know, the Obama administration and also the hawks within the U.S. administration have seen this over the last 3 decades enough times to know that this is just a tactic that's used over and over again to stop even a hint of direct contacts between Tehran and Washington.
Well, you have the drive by the United States and perhaps some of their allies, but at the same time, why is it that they do not object when it comes to Israel threatening other countries with a military attack?
Well, Israel might have the technological capability to conduct an attack, but whether it will be successful or not is another story. But it certainly has. I mean, this is just reaching beyond itself. Israel has no power to maintain to wage a long campaign against any country, because it's so short on resources and its capabilities are very limited. So you know, I don't think much can be made out of this. Secondly, the Washington and the West do use Israeli outbursts to belittle countries in the region and to try and keep them in line, which is why Israel gets away with violating the Article 2 of the UN Charter time after time after time.
Thank you very much, columnist and commentator there, Nader Mokhtari, with his statements. Well, in the meantime, Iran has successfully test-fired undersurface torpedoes as part of a major ongoing military exercise in the country's southern waters. The missile was launched from a Kilo-class submarine. The Navy has already tested surface-to-undersurface torpedoes launched from the domestically produced Jamaran destroyer. On Sunday, the Air Force also joined the drills using Sadaf signal intelligence aircraft and Mirage fighters. Meanwhile, delegations of military observers have also arrived from Iraq, Qatar, and Oman. The exercise, now in its sixth day, is dubbed Veloyat 89. It is being carried out in a wide area stretching from the Strait of Hormuz to the north of the Indian Ocean.
Somali pirates are not only terrorizing the Somali coasts and hijacking foreign ships. Their piracy has reached local ships and boats, and it has affected the shipments of Mogadishu port, which has seen its trade activities decline on a large scale.
The piracy in Somali waters is no longer limited to foreign commerce vessels that only sail in the Gulf of Aden. Recently, it has extended to Somali businessmen's commerce ships and the hijacking of more than 8 of these commerce ships. The trade activities at Mogadishu port, which is an important hub for ships, have declined because of the pirates who sometimes hijack ships from nearby locations.
We are facing threats from the pirates who sometimes approach the port. The military ships in the Somali waters are not capable of stopping this phenomenon because the coastline is very long.
As a reaction to the piracy that the Somali commerce ships are subjected to, some ships have started hiring small boats with armed men to protect and escort them to the Omani coast before the transfer of the goods to other ships heading to the Mogadishu coasts. Despite the decrease in the number of pirate attacks since the beginning of this year in comparison to the last several years, the danger faced by the ships in the Mogadishu port led to a rise in the prices of commodities, which has created additional problems for the poor. The poor can barely make a living. They live in refugee camps, and the war in the suburbs has become a battle that has begun, but it seems to have no end in sight. Abdul Rahman Bukhar, Al Arabiya, Mogadishu.
Tilimsan will be crowned the bride of Islamic culture next year, and one of the cultural reasons for that honor is the religious school known as Khalduniya. This school is a witness to the people who pass by it, whose stories will be told to the visitors coming to its ruins next year in the Arab Maghreb town of Tilimsan. Afaf Noua reports.
When the Maronites occupied Tilimsan under the ruling of Sultan Abu al-Hassan, they built the school in Tagbad village in 1347 AD. The ancestors of the Marakis clan taught lessons here and supported the governance of the Maronites. But history is written for those with great reputations, so the school became known as the Khalduniya school because Khaldun's son taught in the school for 4 years. It is said that Sultan Abu al-Hassan used to bestow his students with monetary gifts, which gained the school fame that extended from the Maghreb to the eastern regions for a period of time. This rare architectural masterpiece remains a witness to its sacred status. It includes Abu Midayan Shu'aib Mosque, built in 1339 AD, the religious school, and the workshop of the Maronite architect. Other facilities are now in their final stages of renovation, in celebration of Tilimsan, the capital of Islamic culture that united the eastern regions with the Maghreb. Today, Tilimsan is on its way to unite all the capitals of the Islamic world.
Built over 600 years ago and considered to be one of the oldest buildings in the world, Said Ibrahim Mosque, with its Berber Islamic architecture, is a religious landmark in Burj Bouarij city. The building includes 2 mosques on its 2 sides and a tomb for its builder and the builder of the village, General Saleh Said Ibrahim Mubakar. Samia Othmani reports.
The soul of Said Ibrahim village, even of the Burj Mu'arririj city, is reflected in this ancient religious building complex housing a mosque whose construction can be traced back to the medieval centuries. The mosque was constructed with local materials, designed by an architect who presented its beauty in its simplicity.
It was completely built with local materials, such as stones, clay plaster, and wood. Of course, the architecture is the Berber Islamic style.
To commemorate its builder, a tomb was built with antique Islamic features. The tomb is placed in the middle of the building, in between the ancient mosque and the new one on the other side, which was built with extraordinary architectural magnificence in the 17th century. Even though this landmark has stood solid throughout its time, it's currently in danger.
In particular, mudslides and humidity, they erode the wood, especially on the roof of the minarets.
Sayyid Ibrahim Mosque is a historical and religious edifice and an Islamic minaret worthy of a high rating.
And Lebanon has won the latest battle in its cooking war with Israel, over which country owns falafel and hummus by setting 2 new records for the biggest helping of each dish in the Guinness Book of World Records. Lebanon says Israel is marketing many of its local dishes like falafel and hummus as Israeli and selling them in international markets. The new Lebanon record for falafel to enter Guinness stood at 500 kilograms of the dish. Lebanon also set a new record for hummus in Guinness, cooking up almost 10 tons of the dish and breaking Israel's previous record of about 4 tons. Both results were confirmed by a Guinness official present at the events. Falafel and hummus, both made with chickpeas, are considered a staple diet in Mediterranean cuisine.
The views expressed on Mosaic are from contributing broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible from support of viewers like you. Thank you. Watch Mosaic World News online. Stay up to date with breaking news. Read our blog. Get transcripts of past shows and more at linktv.org/mosaic.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs, programs which connect you to the world.